Hello, Shortcuts. This is video number 2 for Wednesday, May 10th. How do you follow a blockbuster blues and soul list? Well, I'm going to try. We've got pop, indie, metal, Christian rock. Anyway, you'll see. I think we'll start here. The Smiths were a quintessential British guitar band of the 80s. Stephen Morrissey being the lead singer, and the band themselves being a mix of really extraordinary talents. And interestingly, even though they recorded, kind of like the Beatles, I think it's 5 albums or maybe 4 in a very, very short period of time, they also were compiled on 3 different occasions, 3 different compilation albums, the first being A Hatful of Hollow, and this is the second, and I think the best, The World Won't Listen, which I guess is a pretty, not really oblique, a pretty obvious challenge to the world, in that in the UK they were cult and appearing on Top of the Pops, but around the world they really weren't getting any traction. And really, it's true. The world weren't listening. But they should have done. This compilation has some of the greatest guitar songs of the 1980s. Let's look at There Is a Light That Won't Go Out. Maybe the greatest love song ever written, and that is not hyperbole. If a 10-ton truck crashes into us, to die by your side, what a wonderful way to die. Extraordinary lyrics even to this day. Brilliant album. Panic on the Streets of London, Ask, Big Mouth Strikes Again, Shakespeare's Sister, The Boy with a Thorn in His Side, Half a Person, That Joke Ain't Funny Anymore, all the way through to Rubber Ring, one of their earliest songs. So this is a Japanese first press of the Smiths, The World Won't Listen. I thought the Smiths, one of the greatest British guitar bands of the 80s. Well, let's pivot to one of the greatest British guitar bands of the 70s, and then the greatest Irish band maybe ever. Now, the Gang of Four. This album is called Entertainment. Late 70s, I think it was 78 or 79. Post-punk, kind of dancey art rock, agitprop-y, really political songs, but so catchy, and the tightness of the rhythm section is just, it's really something. This is a really great Japanese first press. I've got one on my own shelf. I've been looking for a second one so that I could introduce it to the club for quite some time, because they are really tightly held, really hard to get. If you don't know the Gang of Four, this debut album will melt your ears. What a period that was for debut albums of guitar bands, The Talking Heads, Television, Gang of Four. 3 of the greatest guitar bands of all time, all reducing debut albums in that intensely creative post-punk period. If you go back a few years, maybe 3 years before Entertainment by the Gang of Four, you find this, Live and Dangerous, Thin Lizzy. I'm going to again showcase just how extraordinarily thorough the Japanese were in creating these records. This hard cardboard gatefold is stunning. Look at that. There are a number of bands in the 70s where Australian listeners were seriously undernourished and unsupported by the record companies. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Thin Lizzy. Australian copies of Thin Lizzy are an absolute aberration. They are horrific. Even classic records like Jailbreak, any US, UK, or Japanese pressing just absolutely smothers the Australian pressing. The vinyl quality was poor, lacking depth and presence. It's just not good enough. If you have an Aussie copy of Live and Dangerous, you'll be blown away. We've had a lot of testosterone. Let's go to Stevie Nicks. 1982, The Wild Heart, her second solo record after, I think it must have been after Fleetwood Mac's Mirage record. One of my heroes, Tom Petty, turns up on this one again. It's a beautiful Japanese press with Obi of the wonderful Stevie Nicks. Now, a major pivot. This was the first Christian rock record to achieve gold status. This is Soldiers Under Command by Stryper. Japanese first press from 1985. For a very long time I thought this record was called Isaiah 53:5. I assume, I'm not actually sure what that verse covers, but what an utterly bizarre sleeve. It's on Sony CBS, and it is, it's not gatefold, but it has these rather odd images of the band. There you go. Stryper were incredibly popular. A string of records. I had a little laugh to myself because I thought, you got Christian rock, maybe not your favorite genre, but let's respect music. What can you follow Stryper with that might be another left or right turn? How about this? 1979 and 1980, Japanese first presses of the Scorpions. Maybe their greatest record, Love Drive. I think Stryper would approve. No? Or what about this? 1980s, Animal Magnetism. Man, they weren't subtle, were the Scorpions. I suspect they're maybe the most famous German rock band. Look at that. Can you just see that there's the boys escaped from the barracks there, as they used to say. What an incredibly sexist cover. But I had a little smile to myself. Hopefully the boys from Stryper aren't too upset. Another band from the 70s that were seriously underprivileged in the Aussie vinyl community are the mighty ZZ Top. This is Tejas and my personal favourite ZZ Top album. This is Fandango. So why is Fandango my favourite ZZ Top album? Again, that's like you're picking your favourite kid between Finbar and Eilish. It's on my mood, but most of the time it's Fandango. And it's because of side 2. Side 2, the side 1, the live side's fine. I enjoy it. Side 2, Nasty Dogs and Funky Kings, Blue Jean Blues, Balinese, Mexican Blackbird, Heard It on the X, and Tush. That is their single greatest run of 6 songs. Every single one of those is stellar. And the Japanese pressing is brilliant. Now, Tejas is different. Tejas, they went a little bit more kind of Texan roots, a little bit more, not country, definitely not, but just a little bit less, full-on blues on this trifold cover, complete with obi, which is seriously rare. I do like this picture of the band. I like Tejas a lot. It's maybe underappreciated compared to Tres Hombre or Fandango, and maybe even their debut album, but it's still great. And there's now only 2 of them left. Sad, sad, sad. Here's another great guitarist, Shuggy Otis. This is the Japanese first press. What label is this? I can't remember what this is. I think it might be CBS. Shuggy Otis, 18-year-old guitar prodigy, son of soul singer Johnny Otis, who helped co-write the songs. Obvious Jimi Hendrix influences. Hugely popular cult following now. Lovely record indeed. Now these boys weren't so lovely. I too like the Japanese sense of humour. I'm going to have to pull this out of the sleeve. There is an obi here, and I'll come to why in a second. But in 1964, in the UK, the Rolling Stones released a killer EP. It had 4 tracks: Bye Bye Johnny, Money, You Better Move On, and Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy, written by Lieber Stoller, was a kind of a soul classic. Just before they were writing songs themselves. And they just sound like the best garage rock band ever. And for about a 4-year period, that is exactly what they were. Classic lineup: Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, Brian Jones, Bill Wyman, the dearly departed Charlie Watts. Now, the Japanese stuck their tongue in their cheek and they did something really, really funky. In the obi, I'm going to see if you can show it there. They put a condom in the obi. Can you see that? This is from, I think it's 1982 maybe, certainly early 80s. I've never seen that with the condom preserved before. I believe this is a promo copy. It's pretty fun music. A very odd idea. I'm going to just highlight this record. Maybe the apex of British blues rock meeting psychedelia. The legendary Disraeli Gears, the second album from Cream. I do like this Japanese pressing a lot. It's the one I have on my shelf. Who could ever get tired of an opening combo of Strange Room followed by Sunshine of Your Love? I think that's maybe one of the greatest 1-2 punches in the history of blues rock. Now, we're going to come to my favourite record of this particular bundle now. Ooh, actually, I'm not sure that's true. Maybe Fandango is my favourite. Thin Lizzy, maybe a sliver behind. But this record's right up there. This band have so millions of records. They had a resurgence in the 90s. They had, I don't know how many hit records over the years. God knows that. I think they still tour. A guitarist whose name is the band. But this is the only record of theirs that I can listen to. It's the only record of theirs that I can spend time with and appreciate. This record is Santana 3. Now, why is this the only Santana record that I find palatable? Neil Schon. Neil Schon went on to have a career with AOR rock bands like Journey and others. But he joined Santana when he was, I think, either 17 or 18. And on this record, he trades solos with Carlos Santana. And to my ears, he pushes Carlos Santana to heights that he never really achieved again. There, I think there he is. He's the kid in the corner. Can you see it? That's Neil compared to the Santana heads. There's Carlos. This is the Japanese first press. It's a gatefold complete with the cap obi. But part of the reason this record is so revered is it is a master sound pressing of Santana 3. It sounds bloody great. Really hard to find. Really, if you don't, it's got some searing songs. The thing about the kind of Latin influence Santana records for me is that they sound kind of anodyne and a bit elevator music. This record is not like that at all. You can hear that there's a rock band trying to get out, and it's the influence of that 18-year-old. In the same way that Shuggy Otis, as an 18-year-old, kind of outshone in some spots Jimi Hendrix, his hero. Neil Schon outshines Carlos Santana. I'm telling you, it's a bit of a revelation. I'm sure I'm wrong. I know there are those out there who say it's Abraxas and Caravanserai and others. For me, it's Santana 3. All right, squaring the circle. We mentioned the greatest British guitar band of the 80s and how they had a series of compilations. The greatest British guitar band of the 60s, maybe some competition from the Stones, was the Beatles. Now this is Yesterday and Today, hard cardboard first press of a compilation record which was predominantly steered to the US, Japanese markets. I'm not actually sure if it was released in Australia and New Zealand. It may have been, I'm not sure. But it's a compilation of the best tracks from Help, Rubber Soul, and then some singles that didn't make it onto either of those records. It was very controversial at the time because the US pressing had the band surrounded, a photograph of the band with butchered animals all around. Somewhat of a crass pastiche of their fame. And it's around that time that John Lennon said, we're more famous than Jesus. And so there was a pomposity and a kind of really crass signal in that cover. And of course it got banned left, right, and centre. But this was the more anodyne sleeve that got past the censors. There's amazing copies that had the old butcher sleeve, let's call it that, with this other thing pasted over the top, and people would carefully pull the pasted over sleeve so they could reveal the butchered Beatles beneath. An amazing story, all true as well, which is absolutely incredible. But this hard cardboard gatefold is a beautiful thing. 1970, Japanese press. It's absolutely pristine. It's pretty unusual. And I thought it would round off this list in a pretty sweet way. Again, thank you for your time. I hope you found this interesting. As always, I would love your feedback. The price list will go out at 9 p.m. Wednesday sharp. If there's anything that caught your eye and you want to know more, drop me a note. As always, love doing this for you. Please give me your feedback, and looking forward to seeing if anyone wants any of these records on Wednesday. And thank you for your time. Bye.